Okay, this is April 1st,
Second.
2nd, 2021. Welcome to Gardening with Gardener Israel. I'm going to try to make this sweet and short because I have a lot of stuff that I research and I know your time is valuable. Going over the two different planting trays. This one right here has 162 cells. I got this from Hoss Tools, Hoss. This is a heavy duty joker that'll probably last you a lifetime. Moving over to the other one, this is a cheaper one. This one here is a lot flimsier, and it also has a tray with it. This one has 36 cells. It works. I've used them for years. This one here will last you a couple of 3 seasons, and that's all. Okay, the difference, both of them are going to work. You're going to be able to grow a larger plant because the cells are much bigger before you set them out. This one over here, I think will make a big enough plant before you set it out. Okay, you can also start smaller stuff in here, like if you wanted to start leeks. It's not that you can start it, you can start the leeks over there, but you're going to be able to, the little leeks are small and you want a good number of them. All right, we will watch these. Now, the planting method, get a good brand of potting soil, fill the tray up, kind of put your seeds in, press them down, make a little depression. The bigger the seed, the further you put them under the soil. And we're going to put something on top of it called vermiculite. Definitely use this. I've done experiments. This definitely helps the germination. It holds water, and it's definitely a good idea, and it's well worth it. And then you put your vermiculite on it, all right? And then you got to water the thing. I started in the greenhouse because I have one. You don't have to start it in the greenhouse. All right, we're going to shift to another subject. Oh, one little thing here. I have a little board, a little storyboard that I make on a piece of scrap wood. I got 5 rows of squash, 3 rows of this kind of cucumber, 3 rows of this kind of cucumber, and I keep up with it. So when the time comes, because I'm testing these as to which one I like best. It's always a good idea to do multiple varieties because you can have a crop failure in one. Experiment, do it. Okay, we're moving to the next subject in just a second. All right, this is not Duke's mayonnaise. This is vermiculite. All right, I'll give you a quick idea of this. This is a mineral mined in different places, and it is then crushed up, and it has the ability to absorb soil. It's clean. It has no nothing that'll bother plant. This is a standard stuff they use in horticulture. A couple of things about this. This stuff is very light, and it also puts off a lot of it gets into the air, little tiny particles. You definitely do not want to breathe this stuff. It actually is mined. Sometimes asbestos and this stuff occur in the same places, and they have to find it pure vermiculite that's not mixed with asbestos, or else you're going to be breathing asbestos. There's a famous mine, I think, out in Colorado that many people died from mining this stuff with asbestos. You can look it up. I don't think it's dangerous. Just have to take some precautions. Don't shake it up, and you got to handle it with care because you don't want to breathe it. I don't think it's toxic, but any little particles in your lungs is going to give you troubles down the way. I do think it's worth it to use it. It's cheap. You can buy a bag of it at Lowe's, a small bag, which is good enough for maybe a year worth of gardening, or I found a big bag at the garden supply place that's from a place called Palmetto in South Carolina, and it's much cheaper that way. But you can look that up. Okay, so I just take a little thing here. I've already pushed my seeds down into the dirt according to their size. You push them down further if they're big, and you push them down less if they're small. And that's the vermiculite. You might even see the particles floating, so just make sure you don't breathe that stuff. I've been messing with it for years and I don't have any lung problem, but I am careful with it. Okay, the greenhouse. A quick view of what we're doing in here. Remember, it's April 2nd. We're in South Georgia. We've grown all this stuff in the greenhouse. Some of it just on the dirt floor, some of it in a raised bed. This is more than we can eat. So, you know, we couldn't even, to start with, there wasn't much, but now it's just overwhelming. Mustard, turnip, beets. Over here we got broccoli. We got a world of it. We got carrot beds over here that we got, there's one little bitty crooked one right here. There's a nice carrot. That's what we grew right here in this bed. And this was done over the winter. No heat in here at all. Basically, these are cold weather things anyway. Okay, do you need a greenhouse of 30 by 12? That's what the size of this thing is. 30 times 12, that's 300 and something square feet. If you're going to use it, like I do, yes, it's worth it. I got this one for about $5,000 installed. It's probably more than that now. It's going to last you 10 years or more. Yes, I think it's worth it. I start plants in here, I grow stuff in here. In the summertime, it's practically useless in South Georgia because it gets to be about 120 degrees in here. Bottom line, if you're going to use it and you can afford it, yes, you'll have a good time with your greenhouse. Moving on. Alright, we're going to talk about when to plant in the spring and summer. Alright, a lot of people around here are getting all bent out of shape about getting going and getting planting and getting it going. Okay, it was 36 degrees this morning here. Sometimes it gets hot quicker. Alright, the advantages to getting an early start are, let's put it this way, why do people want to get a really early start? It goes back to the time when people made a living market gardening. It's my opinion. The first one to get to market got double or triple prices for it. I saw a man one time take a load of squash to the livestock market and he had beat everybody there, and there was a line at the back of his pickup truck and he was getting top dollar for it. You wait 2 or 3 weeks later, people walk right by squash. Doesn't mean anything to them. They might sell it and you're not going to get much for it. We don't market garden, and very few people do. Most of the people gardening are going to be growing it to eat. The disadvantages of planting early. The advantages are you might beat somebody to the market and get more money. The disadvantages. The warm weather crops like tomatoes, squash, and cucumbers, they don't do much when it's chilly. You might get them in the ground, but they're not going to go crazy growing because they have to be a certain warmness for them to thrive. So it is theoretically possible to plant warm weather crops, tomatoes, cucumbers, squash, corn, 2 or 3 weeks before somebody else and not get a crop as quick, or maybe at the same time, because they're the one that planted later when the weather warmed up. Their plant grew faster without any break. You let a cold night come on corn, cucumber, squash, you're not going to get any growth. It's just going to sit there. So if you're not market gardening, then you might be better off to wait a little while and get your timing. Something you're going to have to experiment with, but you're generally not going to get anywhere by planting early. You might even lose some of your crop due to the cold nights. So that's my theory on that. Alright, I'm trying to water this. I haven't had any experience with these little trays, the ones that have the 162 cells. They do not have a tray that goes under them that catches water. These guys do. And I've used these for years. I would water them until it actually ran out into that tray a little bit. And you know, but these here, I don't know. I'm going to have to learn. I don't know about, but the rule of thumb is you're going to want to water them and water them frequently. Make sure that, I guess if it starts running out the bottom, you've done enough. This is something you're going to have to learn, And I'm going to have to learn from experimentation. Okay, one other thing. How big of a garden do you need? This is practical advice. All right, it would be better to have 100 square foot garden well taken care of than a 500 square foot garden that you don't take care of, or 1,000 square foot, or a 10,000, or an acre. I've seen many times people plant a gigantic garden and they do not take care of it, and they end up just with a mess. And they could have gotten just as much produce out of a garden a tenth as big if they properly took care of it. What do I mean by properly taking care of it? I mean hoe it. Hoe around the plants and get the weeds out, and do it before the weeds become so big that they become dominant in your garden. A little bit well taken care of is going to serve you better. Okay, about putting up stuff and filling your freezer up with jars or bags of tomatoes and all that kind of stuff, and squash and all that, I'm just telling you my experience. I've put a bunch of stuff in the deep freezer and never gotten it out again because I always had something else going. It might be that in some climates it might be very useful to put stuff up, like maybe if you live in Minnesota or something like that, and you can't grow anything in the winter. I can't speak to that climate. Alaska, I don't know. But down here in Georgia, you can grow stuff year round. So it doesn't make sense to me to pay an electric bill on a big freezer and have stuff in there that I'm not even going to get out, and I look in there and the stuff I put in there is 5 years old. All right, this is Gardener Israel, Gardening with Gardener Israel, and I hope it's brief enough to have kept your attention, and we will update you on what we're doing with this stuff. Signing off. All right, here we are back again on the 5th of April. All right, this is something that I knew better than doing, but I'm glad it happened because I can tell you about it and warn you about it. The mice got into I did not cover my seed tray that I planted my cucumbers in, and I knew better than to leave it uncovered, but I guess I had a brain freeze. And they destroyed all the seeds. I'm going to have to replant this. So, I had to rig up this new stand in my broccoli bed, which was ready to be pulled up and fed to the goats. We pulled all these broccoli plants up and threw them to the goats, and they had a big time with it. These trays are too wide to sit comfortably on the shelves that were provided with this greenhouse. So I have to, in order to use my screen that I made for it, I have to rig up something else. Now I can put the smaller trays on that, but they have to be covered too. You got to cover these seeds. These seeds were treated. Some of them, see that green color and that over there? That means it was treated seed. They treat that seed with a powerful poison chemical to keep to make them last longer in the package. Okay, now that's not organic, but I've used them for years. Now that's poison. If these rats that ate this right here, they're not going to be feeling too good. Okay, but it doesn't affect the plants when they grow up. Okay, so I made a screen for it, and here it is right here, made out of 2x4s, and it fits over like this right here. A little bit of, I got plenty of room around the edge, you know, a ½ inch all the way around. Now the rats or mice won't get in there. Now when these seeds, there's about 1.5 inches of screen above. When they get up that big, you can take it off. They don't bother them after they've turned into plants. They just want the seed, and that's what mice eat, is seed, and they can smell them a mile away. So I'm going to replant this, and I'm going to leave it here. Now this is a better situation anyway, and because there's so many here, you know, this is, forgot what I told you, 162 cells. So this is my new situation here. So just wanted to tell you about that. I would, if you're, don't trust those mice. They'll find it. If you got it in your house, you might have control of them, but they're out here in the greenhouse. I had a good bit of trouble with them digging into my carrot bed, and not the mice, but the field mice, which are much bigger. They come from the outside, and they dug up some of my carrots. But I caught a lot of them with big traps, those Victor rat traps. I probably caught at least 10 of them, and managed to control it. So that's the story. Fixing to replant, no harm done. It's a good thing it happened because I got to show you about this. You got to protect your seeds from the mice. All right, this is Gardener Israel, Gardening with Gardener Israel, signing off.